Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting and City Council meeting. I proudly call this Committee Whole meeting to order. Let the record show that all the aldermen are present. Actually, it is the council meeting. Forgive me. I just went over this too. Forgive me.
We have one missing.
Yes.
And we're
We need a
Madam
roll call.
Recording Secretary, please take the roll call.
Tara Burkhart. Here. Michael Clements.
Here.
Becky Ruby. Here. Gabe Caven. Here. Dean Kilberg.
Here.
Craig Maladra.
Here.
Richard Marks. Here. Jean McGowan.
Here.
Robert Swanson.
Here.
And Alderman Bruno is absent.
We begin tonight's council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask our guest, and our only guest, Cookie Olson, to please lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cookie. Now we will jump to the Committee of the Whole meeting. Item 3A, folks, is to consider the mayor's appointment of Kevin Heckman and Amy Cook to the Cultural Arts Commission. All of you should have received an email from me earlier today sharing with you the overwhelming decision by the Geneva Cultural Arts Commission to appoint both Kevin and Amy to the vacancies. So I would entertain a motion to do so. So moved. Alderman Marks makes the motion. Alderman Swanson makes the second. Any questions or comments? A voice vote would be sufficient. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And item 3B, folks, is the Geneva Police and Firefighters Actuarial Valuation Report presentation. Welcome back. This guy's not only an actuary, but he also enjoyed dinner here in town tonight, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I went to the barbecue place. Firewater? Yeah, it was very good. I was driving by, there was a taco place that I went to last year before the meeting, and I was going through town earlier, and I saw that there was paper on the wall, on the window, so it looks like it was relocated from what I've heard. So I just happened to be driving past. Just yesterday I told my wife I was hungry for some barbecue, so I went there, and it was very good, so I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I'm sure everyone is glad to see me again. It's been just a couple of months, I believe.
I'm sorry. Just for the record,
sorry.
state your name and
Yes.
the firm you're representing.
Yes. My name is Jason Franken, and I am an actuary with Foster & Foster Consulting Actuaries.
Thank you, Jason.
So what I'm here to talk tonight briefly about is just the results of the actuarial valuation as of May 1st of 2019 for the police pension plan and the fire pension plan. So last time we spoke, there were a number of changes that we talked about making. There were really two really big ones. One, the interest rate assumption. We're currently, a little bit higher than where we would like to be, and also the payroll growth assumption. That's the assumption that determines the steepness of your pension ramp. Both of those items, we talked about phasing in changes to get to a more realistic position with each of those assumptions. However, just based on the timing, we have not implemented any of those changes in this valuation. That's something that we will, make in future years. We did adopt a number of other more minor actuarial assumption changes to the age of retirement for the police officers and firefighters. A number of changes based on tables that were released at the end of 2017 by the Department of Insurance. The other big change that we made was to the mortality table. We adopted the new mortality tables that were released last fall by the Society of Actuaries. These tables are entirely based on public sector data. So this is new. All of the prior mortality tables had been based on private sector data. So we felt that this was a good, that these tables are really representative of the population that is covered by each of the plans. In fact, a set of the tables that were released are specific to public safety. So it's a public sector, public safety mortality table. In my opinion, it's hard to justify any other mortality table when you have a new table that was just released based on millions upon millions of lives of public safety officers across the country. And so adopting this new table led to a little bit of an increase in our liability, but a lot of the other changes that we made based on the Department of Insurance lowered the liability. So the assumption changes that we made this year largely offset each other, so there was no real impact as a result of the changes this year. So just to give you a brief summary of where we ended up this year, for the fire pension plan, last year we had $5.9 million of unfunded liability and a funded ratio of 72.4%. That increased to $6.8 million this year. So it went from $5.9 to $6.8 million of unfunded liability, and our funded ratio did go down from 72.4% down to 70.2. One of the, in addition to some of the assumption changes, the market return for the year was only about 1%. So the fourth quarter of 2018 was a really tough one. Early in 2019, the market regained a lot of what was lost, but at the end of the fiscal year, as of April 30th, the fire pension fund only returned about 1%. That was the fire plans. So for the police plan, last year there were about $17.7 million of unfunded liability. This year it's about 18.7, so it went up by $1 million. And our funded ratio actually did go up a little bit from 56.2 up to 56.5%. So unlike the fire pension plan, the police pension plan's funded ratio did go up a little bit this year. And their return was significantly, for whatever reason, their return was significantly higher this year than the fire plan. This year they returned about 6.3%. So there was a fairly significant difference in the investment returns between the two plans. And that's why you're seeing one funded ratio go down by about 2% and the other one going up a little bit. In terms of the contribution requirement, the fire pension plan last year, the recommended contribution was $694,000. After all of the changes, the experience, we're showing that this year the amount increased from $694,000 to $766,000. Again, there are, as we discussed, a few months ago, there are some changes that we think need to be made to the payroll growth and the investment return that would increase this, contribution over time. We've talked about phasing in those changes, but at least for this year, most of the contribution is just due to the experience, as well as that mortality table increases. So those two big ticket items are not included here. And for the police pension plan, the contribution requirement increased from $1,566,000 to $1,631,000. So that's about about $65,000 increase. So for both plans, the magnitude of the increase was about $60,000 to $65,000 this year versus last year. And again, those assumption changes that we talked about that we've made did contribute a little bit to that, but those other, bigger items are ones that we've deferred and we plan to start phasing it in next year. So those are the highlights of the report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or I could go into more detail, but I'm sure you have other things on your agenda that you probably need to get to too.
Any questions or comments for our guest? Seeing none? Hearing none? We're not accepting a report per se, it's just simply a presentation, so last chance, any comments or questions for the barbecue guy?
You're going easy on me tonight, it sounds like.
Can we have your personal cell so we can call you later?
Yes, it's on my card, so feel free to call me at any time.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 4, ladies and gentlemen, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening? Item 5 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine by this council and can be enacted with one motion. Is there such a motion? Motion by Marks, seconded by Swanson. Madam Recording Secretary, please take the roll.
Sarah Burkhart?
Aye.
Michael Clements?
Aye.
Becky Ruby?
Aye.
Gabriel Caven?
Aye.
Dean Kilburg?
Aye.
Craig Maladra?
Aye.
Richard Marks?
Aye.
Jean McGowan?
Aye.
Robert Swanson?
Aye.
Item 5 passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. We skip down to item number 9, other items in correspondence. 9A is to recommend acceptance of the fiscal year 2020 second quarter goals status report. I'll entertain a motion to so accept. Motion by Alderman Clements. Seconded by Alderman Ruby. Any questions or comments regarding the report as submitted? Voice vote is sufficient to accept the report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion passes. Item number 10, folks, is municipal bills for payment, and we kindly ask our recording secretary to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration. And we wish us luck because Alderman Bruno's not here to read his, so this could be deferred.
Bills for payment this evening total $1,105,680.95.
Silence fills the room.
I'll try this one. I'll make the motion to accept the bills as in our report and as stated on the city's website.
Alderman Marks makes the motion to pay the bills as presented, which are available in our packets and on the city's website. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Clements. Any questions or comments regarding the bills? Madam Recording Secretary, when you're ready.
Sarah Burkhart?
Aye.
Michael Clements?
Aye.
Becky Ruby?
Aye.
Gabriel Caven?
Aye.
Dean Kilburg?
Aye.
Craig Maladra? Richard Marks?
Aye.
Jean McGowan?
Aye.
Robert Swanson?
Aye.
Item 10 passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. Folks, the items from the Committee of the Whole were all under the consent agenda, so we jump to item 13, new business or public comment. Anyone joining us this evening, anything you'd like to share, ask questions about? From the dais? A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Alderman Marks makes the motion to adjourn. Well done. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned from the city council meeting. We'll begin the committee of the whole meeting just momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, we are calling the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Let the record show that all the aldermen, save for Alderman Bruno, are present. We begin with item 2, approve regular Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from October 21st, 2019. Is there a motion? Alderman Kilburg makes the motion, and Alderman Clements makes the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes, 9 affirmative votes, 0 against, and 1 absent. Item 3A, under items of business, is to consider approval of the 2019 estimated tax levy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Marks makes the motion. Second. Alderman McGowan makes the second, and I turn the microphone over to our city administrator, Ms. Dawkins.
Thank you. So the Illinois Property Tax Code, Truth in Taxation Law, requires that not less than 20 days prior to the adoption of the city's property tax levy, the corporate authorities of the city shall determine the amount of money estimated to be necessary to be raised by taxation for that year upon the taxable property in the city. For your consideration and approval is an estimated tax levy in the amount of $5,409,304. Final approval of the tax levy is scheduled for consideration and approval at the December 16th, 2019 City Council meeting. As a non-home rule municipality, the City of Geneva is subject to the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, which is also known as PTEL. The statute limits the increase in the amount of property taxes extended for capped funds to the annual change in the CPI, which is 1.9%, or 5%, whichever is less, plus the EAV that is attributable to new construction and annexation. The amount of the actual levy can and likely will decrease, but in no case can it exceed the amount reflected in the estimate approved by the corporate authorities. In tonight's packet, you found a memo fully detailing the estimated property tax levy. In short, the actual property tax rate will decrease 0.5%. For further discussion or questions, I have Rita Cruz, our finance manager, present this evening, and she'll be happy to walk you through anything more that you want to know about the levy.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Ms. Dawkins and/or Finance Manager Cruz? Hearing none? Seeing none? Madam Recording Secretary, whenever you're ready, we are approving the estimated levy for next fiscal year.
Tara Burkhardt.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra.
Aye.
Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan. Aye. Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Item 3A passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. Item 3B is to consider draft ordinance amending Title IX Municipal Utilities, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 2, Billing Procedures of the Geneva City Code of Ordinances. Is there a motion? Alderman Swanson makes the motion.
Second.
Alderman Marks makes the second. Ms. Dawkins.
So you all may recall that the City Council approved an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Office of the Comptroller's Local Debt Recovery Program, we like our acronym, so IDROP, to allow the city to submit debt less than 7 years old to the Comptroller's Office for offsets against state payments to individuals or businesses. In order to comply with that agreement, a debtor must be given the opportunity for an administrative hearing to dispute the amount. So the amendment before you tonight to the city code would allow delinquent utility service indebtedness to follow the same adjudication process that we already have established in Title I, Chapter 12 of the city code. Again, I still have Finance Manager Rita Cruz with us if you had any additional questions.
Questions or comments for either Ms. Dawkins or Ms. Cruz? Hearing none? Seeing none? Madam Recording Secretary.
Tara Burkhardt.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra.
Aye.
Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan. Aye. Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Item 3B passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 absent, and, 0 nay votes and 1 absent. Item 3C is to consider draft resolution authorizing the declaration of surplus property for fire department vehicle and miscellaneous equipment. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Ruby. Seconded by Alderman Clements. Ms. Dawkins.
Okay, this is another housekeeping item. As is standard practice and required, this item is a request to declare various property and one vehicle as surplus from the fire department. Included in your packet is a list of all the property and equipment. All of the items are either obsolete at the end of their life and/or no longer usable. We have Chief Antonori with us this evening if you have any additional questions.
And to clarify, the property is Fire Station Number 2.
Not real property.
Oh, sorry. Questions or comments from Ms. Dawkins or Chief Antonori? I believe there was one question asked that was included in the Q&A submitted to the council earlier today.
Yep.
Hearing none, seeing none. MRS, Madam Recording Secretary.
Tara Burkhardt.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra. Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan. Aye. Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Motion passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. Item 3D, as in David, consider approval of certificate of acceptance for Delnor Family Residency Clinic at 298 Randall Road. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman McGowan,
Seconded.
seconded by Alderman Kilburg. Ms. Dawkins.
Okay, and we continue with some housekeeping. This is a certificate of acceptance for the public right-of-way, the water main, and electrical improvements to accommodate the Delnor Family Residency Clinic at 298 Randall Road. A recent site review by staff confirmed that all of the referenced improvements are acceptable. With this certificate of acceptance, the remaining balance of the corresponding letter of credit supplied by the developer of Delnor Family Residency Clinic may be released.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions for the city administrator? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Recording Secretary?
Tara Burkhart.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra. Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan. Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Item 3D passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. Item 3E is to consider draft resolution restating the declaration of surplus and authorizing sale of real property located on Lewis Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Marks makes the motion. Alderman Ruby makes the second. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay, so in 2013, the corporate authorities declared that the city-owned property located on Lewis Road was no longer necessary, appropriate, required for the use of, profitable to, or for the best interests of the city, and therefore said real estate was declared surplus. If you're really interested in that, you can see resolution number 2013-128. Subsequent to that finding declaration, in 2019, the city conveyed a portion of the real estate to the Union Pacific Railroad Company in conjunction with its mainline third rail project. So this resolution tonight just reconfirms the 2013 determination and reauthorizes the city administrator to advertise for proposals for the sale and purchase of the real estate and to negotiate any proposals for the purchase of said real estate in accordance with the provisions of state statutes. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. There was the whole resolution about what can or can't be kind of built upon that property and what the preferences are all included in the packet. So this is really just a restatement of something the council did back in 2013.
Questions or comments for the city administrator? Seeing none? Hearing none? Madam Recording Secretary?
Tara Burkhart.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra. Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan. Robert Swanson.
Aye.
Item 3E passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. Item 3F is to consider draft ordinance annexing certain territory to the city of Geneva, a municipal corporation located in Kane County, Illinois, and that property is 1 North 384 Peck Road. Is there a motion to so annex? Motion by Alderman McGowan,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Swanson. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay, so earlier this year, the city purchased the real property located at 1 North 384 Peck Road, which is currently located in unincorporated Kane County. On behalf of the city of Geneva, the city administrator submitted a petition with the city clerk requesting that the property be annexed to the city of Geneva. As this is a voluntary annexation and the property is already under the jurisdiction of the park, library, and school districts, there are no prior written notice to be given to any other party. There's also no publication notice required. Once the ordinance is approved, it will be filed and recorded at the county. The building division will assign a new address to the property, and notice will be sent to the U.S. Postmaster regarding the annexation.
Question or comments regarding the action being considered? Alderman McGowan?
Hello, thank you, sorry, just to clarify. I had a long day. So what will the new address be? Will it just say that it's now in Geneva, Illinois?
No, it'll have an actual street address, but I do not know what that is at this point.
So it will no longer be 1 North
That is correct.
384? Why? Just to
Because-
differentiate between the old and the new?
Yep, differentiate between what's in the county and what's in the city limits.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I guess we will
So it'll be
just-
something Peck Road.
Okay, sounds wonderful. And goodbye.
Anyone else? Please say hello prior to speaking. We have a motion, we have a second. Madam Recording Secretary? Hello.
Tara Burkhart.
Aye.
Michael Clements.
Aye.
Becky Ruby.
Aye.
Gabriel Caven.
Aye.
Dean Kilburg.
Aye.
Craig Maladra. Richard Marks.
Aye.
Jean McGowan.
Aye.
Robert Swanson.
Aye.
With a vote of 9 affirmative, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent, item 3F passes. Item 3G is to consider draft ordinance authorizing the disposal of personal property owned by the city of Geneva, located at 1 North 384 Peck Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Marks makes the motion,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Caven. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay, so at a policy discussion on September 6th, the city council discussed the property located at 1 North 384 Peck Road. At the meeting, the city council directed staff to prepare the necessary documents to dispose of the personal property, namely the farmhouse, by offering the property for sale for a price not less than $1, provided that the successful bidder shall have the obligation to physically remove the structure from the real property. Again, if there's any additional questions or discussions, I'm happy to entertain those.
Questions or comments from Ms. Dawkins? Alderman McGowan?
Thank you. Okay, so I was wondering what the timeline is, because it doesn't really specify, so can you
Yeah,
elaborate?
I haven't set out all the full timeline, but we'll put a notice likely on the city's website and through all of our normal channels for a period, I would say for several weeks at least, to accept bids, and then if no bids are received, then we can I'll determine from there, but again, I haven't laid out a full timeline, but it's not gonna be like for 2 days. We'll make sure that it's out there long enough to find interested parties.
I'm not sure if, like, several weeks is really a lot of time for people. It's a big decision, and people need time to, you know, do some research and figure out, you know, crunch the numbers and such, so is that kind of like a standard length of time for
I mean,
offering a
usually
property?
you don't put it out for months on end because the idea is that the city wants to start moving forward.
Right. I guess I'd feel more comfortable if I knew that there was at least like a month or two, or, you know, month and a half.
I mean, and usually I think a month is reasonable. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't go much beyond a month or 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So
So-
I just wanted to clarify, I guess, because when you said several weeks, I mean, I didn't know if that was like
Okay,
2
sorry.
weeks or, so you're saying it'll be.
Usually, so what I'll do is, assuming this passes on the 14th, I will look at the calendar, because you take into consideration there's holidays and everything else, and kind of look what seems to make sense, given all of that, and select a date.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Questions for Alderman Ruby?
Thank you. So on the tails of that, it seems unlikely that someone's going to try to move a house in the middle of winter?
They wouldn't be required to move it right away.
Okay.
It would be that they would make a bid,
Okay,
and then we would negotiate whatever the terms of that deal are. So obviously, we know that it's difficult to move things during, winter or whatever, and so ideally, you're not gonna set your closing date till spring or whatever, because what you wanna do is you wanna have something secured so you can be setting up all those dates for the move and those types of things. We all know with the house that got moved on State Street, things beyond your control happened that caused that move to be delayed. So really, what this does is just get those proposals in hand.
okay. So I guess if we come to a point where it was listed for 4 weeks, for example, and there was no interest, then what would happen? Or would we discuss the
No,
next
so,
step?
so the way the resolution's written is that then we would proceed with likely demolishing the building. It authorizes me to dispose of the property.
Okay, so we would do the demo in the winter even though we wouldn't be?
No, not necessarily. Again, we're gonna have to look at weather conditions, look at, if we post for bids and we don't get any received, but maybe we've heard through the grapevine somebody's interested, we may extend that.
Okay,
Just because we say we're going to demolish it doesn't mean that we begin the demolishment immediately after that closes.
okay,
I mean, again, we'll have to get bids, we would have to go through that whole process, which would take time as well.
okay. I mean, what I'm wondering is if the property is just going to be sitting there like it has been vacant, what's the harm in letting it sit there through the spring to give
Yeah,
people
well, right now
more
it is costing the
opportunity?
city money. We have to keep, electric running and so we don't have pipes frozen, liability issues.
Do we
But,
know the-
but the likelihood is that we will still have that building sitting there until spring.
Okay,
I mean, that's just given the nature of where we live, it's unlikely that a house will be sold or demolished in the middle of winter. Because I think the other option is if the house is not sold, we also talked about the possibility of the fire department being able to use it first for training. So there's all kinds of things that come into play.
okay. And if demo is the end result of this, will there be opportunity is there anything salvageable in the home?
We'll go through all of that
Okay.
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the dais? We have a motion, we have a second. Madam Recording Secretary?
Tara Burkhart?
Aye.
Michael Clements?
Aye.
Becky Ruby?
Aye.
Gabrielle Caven?
Aye.
Dean Kilburg?
Aye.
Craig Maladra? Richard Marks? Jean McGowan?
Aye.
Robert Swanson?
Aye.
Item 3G passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. We're on to item 3H, folks. Consider draft ordinance amending Title I Administrative, Chapter 9 Municipal Taxes of the Geneva City Code of Ordinances pertaining to, how's that go? Very good. The imposition of a municipal cannabis retailer's occupational tax, or CROT for short. Is there a motion to? Oh, yes, MCROT. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Swanson, seconded by McGowan. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay, so on September 23rd, the City Council held a policy discussion regarding the city's options in regulating adult-use cannabis business establishments. At the conclusion of the discussion, staff was directed to remand the issue regarding regulation to the Planning and Zoning Commission for recommendation, and at the same time bring forward an ordinance regarding the sales tax issue. On or after January 1, 2020, the corporate authorities of any county or municipality may by ordinance impose a municipal cannabis retailer's occupation tax, MCROT. For municipalities, the MCROT is imposed upon purchases for the privilege of using adult-use cannabis purchased in the municipality. The rate of the tax shall not exceed 3% of the purchase price. Any ordinance imposing the tax must be certified by the municipal clerk and filed with the Illinois Department of Revenue before June 1 of any year to be effective and enforced by the Department of Revenue on September 1 of that year. And again, if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to entertain those.
Questions or comments for the city administrator? Alderman Ruby.
So you mentioned June 1 submittal date for September 1st. Does that apply for 2020?
That would apply for 2020 if we had any businesses that were regulated to
Okay.
sell.
But they could potentially
Open
start
before,
selling,
that's
right.
correct.
Okay, got it.
But the way the law is written, that's the earliest that we would be able to enact the sales tax.
Okay, thank you.
Currently. Well, and even if for the January 1, we would have had to submit it
Right.
by October
That's
1.
true. The trailer bills won't address that necessarily. Okay. Anyone else for the city administrator from the dais? Alderman Maladra.
So just for clarity, this is not saying we approve any such retailers. This is just saying if there were any, whether or not we would levy a tax.
That is correct.
Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. Madam Recording Secretary?
Tara Burkhardt?
Aye.
Michael Clements?
Aye.
Becky Ruby?
Aye.
Gabriel Caven?
Aye.
Dean Kilburg?
Aye.
Craig Maladra?
Aye.
Richard Marks? Jean McGowan?
Aye.
Robert Swanson?
Aye.
The motion passes with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 absent. It brings us to new business, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone from the audience? Any questions or comments for the council or new business you'd like to share? Yes. Good evening.
Madeline Roth. I have a lot to say, but I think tonight all I want to say is I have a 36-page background check here that was done by my brother-in-law, Chuck Scarborough, on Gordon Roth. And I just want to say that he has no criminal charges against him. So anything that's out there is forged, and I just think it's, who does that? Kind of cruel and hurtful people would do that to somebody. So if anybody would like to look at this, be happy to pass it around. Does anyone want to see it? No? Okay.
Give our best to Gordon, Madeline. Anyone else? Alderman Kilburg.
Item 3H, obviously, we just took action on that. As it relates to the city and further discussion as it relates to cannabis in Geneva, the timeline on this, the Plan and Zoning Commission will address this on November 14th. And again, that discussion at the Plan and Zoning Commission will center around the ordinance and citing, not whether or not it's approved or not approved as far as a dispensary in Geneva. We're anticipating that the council will take action on the issue probably sometime in December. Is that a safe assumption?
It depends on whether or not the public hearing is
Yeah,
completed
the
in one
outcome of the
night.
public hearing.
Correct.
Okay, so for the benefit of the public, I thought I'd pass that along. Thank you.
Ladies, anything you'd like to ask? Do you guys have to be here? You're students at which school? Do you want to come up and ask a question so that we can verify that you actually did your homework? You don't have to, I'll just give you the opportunity if you'd like. Yeah, you can sing the Rosary Fight song. What year in school are you? Well, come on up to the microphone. Let's meet you, if you don't mind. And where's home for you?
Geneva.
Excellent. So senior year.
Yep.
And what is your name?
Zoe.
Hi, Zoe. How are you?
Good, how are you? Also Zoe. Yep.
Spelled the same way?
Yep.
Is this some sort of like rosary thing? It's like, wow. So next year's plans?
I'm gonna play basketball at Purdue Fort Wayne University.
Oh, no kidding. Very cool. What position?
Power forward.
Power forward. Nice.
Now I'm going to Carroll University. It's in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It's a smaller school.
Of course, I know exactly where it is. Yeah, it's beautiful. Wow. Now, your sweatshirt, Zoe. See, I can just say Zoe. I'm not even wrong. So have you been?
No, I was actually talking to them. That was my second choice.
Yeah, they have one of the greatest, or I should say, the most respected polling organizations in America. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that
it's in
something?
all that.
How do you pronounce that, Mr. City Attorney?
I was gonna say Quinnipiac, but I could be wrong.
Zoe, how do you pronounce that?
Quinnipiac.
Quinnipiac. Wow, I learned something. That's cool.
There you go. So, ladies, what brings you here tonight?
Our government class. Yep.
So what do you make of all this excitement, despite showing up late?
It was interesting.
Any questions on what was discussed, or?
No.
No? So when you turn in your assignment, do you put your last name on there, or just Zoe?
Last name.
That's a smart move, man. Well, if no questions at all, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn, ladies and gentlemen? Motion by Clemens. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.